What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to open 3 envelopes from some recent returns from some players and give you their background about their playing careers. I figured I'd do some more football this week because if you haven't noticed, I've posted a lot of football videos about the St. Louis Cardinals football team this past week, so I just thought I'd keep the tradition alive. But this time we're going to talk about the Chicago Bears. So the first return is from New Hampshire, and it is a return from former wide receiver of the Chicago Bears, Steven Schubert, on 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I don't know if you can get a more close-up view of an individual than that card, but the photographer that year decided to zoom in on Mr. Schubert as much as he could, it looked like, to make that card. So let me tell you about Steve Schubert and his career in football. Steve Schubert was born in Brooklyn, New York, but grew up in New Hampshire, where he attended high school at Manchester Central in New Hampshire. After high school, he would go on to college to play wide receiver for the University of Massachusetts for the Minutemen. After completing his collegiate career at UMass, Schubert went undrafted. He originally signed with the regional New England Patriots and appeared in 8 games for them his first season in 1974. After the 74 season concluded, he was let go by the Patriots and he signed as a free agent with the Chicago Bears. In 1975, he went to the Bears and he primarily was used as a punt and kick returner for the Bears that year. However, he did have 5 receptions as a wide receiver for the team that year. 1976 would be more of the same, where he would appear in 14 games for the Bears, primarily being used as their punt and kick returner. The following year in 77, he would be utilized even more. He would appear in 13 games, but would have more punt returns and kick returns that season. The same for 1978 and 1979. So primarily, he was used as a special teams guy on kickoff and punt returns. For his entire career, he only had 24 receptions, for the Bears as a wide receiver, so that you can tell that he was utilized much more on special teams than he was the offensive, purposes for the Bears. However, in the 37-7 loss to the Cowboys in the 1977 NFC Divisional Playoff game, he did make a catch in that game to score the only lone touchdown. After his career, I'm not really sure what Steve wound up doing. He did relocate back to his home state of New Hampshire. That's where this is postmarked for. So I want to thank Mr. Schubert for signing, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, this next one is postmarked from Illinois, and it is a return from former Chicago Bear middle linebacker Tom Hicks, University of Illinois player Tom Hicks, on 4 of 4. So let me tell you about Tom Hicks and his career in football. Tom Hicks played his high school football at Willowbrook High School in Illinois. He also lettered in basketball and baseball while he was in high school. Tom would go on to play his college football at the University of Illinois as a linebacker. He would be selected in the 1975 draft in the 6th round by the Chicago Bears. In 1976, his rookie season, he would appear in 14 games for the Bears. He wouldn't be a starter at this point, but he would make solid contributions to the team in those 14 games his rookie year. In 1977, he would appear in 12 games for the Bears, starting 5 of them. And by 1978, he was a full-blown starter for the Chicago Bears backfield. However, unfortunately, about midway through the season, towards the midway point of the season, Tom got injured in a game against the Seattle Seahawks in 1978, thusly ending his 1978 season. He would immediately have surgery to try to repair his knee injury, and he would come back in 1979 as a full starter for the Bears, playing in 15 of their games, starting 14 of them. In 1980, he would again return, being the starter in 14 games for the Bears that season. However, after the 1980 season concluded, he decided that with his injuries and some contract, I guess you would say, disagreement in contract, he decided to hang up the cleats and no longer play football. So Tom only played 5 years in the NFL, due to his injuries, appearing in 64 games during that time period. After his playing career, he got into He got into the financial world and also got into real estate and mortgage type of jobs. I want to say that he worked in some tech industry type of stuff around the Chicago area. He is still currently in the Chicago area. I'm not sure how active he is, being he's a retirement age now at 70. But that is definitely what he wound up doing after his playing career as a football player for just those brief 5 years as a Chicago Bear. So we'll move on to the final return. And if you guys remember these from way back when, I will post the video up here in the corner. But I got a return from my first Super Bowl playing card return from Super Bowl 20, the Chicago Bears. And it is a return from former All-Pro defensive back safety Gary Fencik on 4 of 4, including the Super Bowl ticket. So let me tell you about Gary Fencik and his career in football. Fencik, an Illinois native, attended high school in Illinois and later went on to the Ivy League to play college football at Yale University. While at Yale, he had 86 catches for 1,435 yards and 7 touchdowns from 1973 to 75. In his senior season, Gary caught 42 passes and led the Ivy League with 729 receiving yards. Gary would be drafted in the 1976 draft in the 10th round by the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins originally decided they were going to move him to defensive back as they felt that he was not fast enough for the NFL to play at wide receiver. However, during a preseason game, he ruptured a left lung against the New Orleans Saints, and he was released later that September and headed home to Chicago, thinking that his NFL career was over. Well, going into 1976, after being let go by the Dolphins, Gary returned home to Chicago, and he was starting to embark in a career in finance and banking. Well, the Chicago Bears invited him to a tryout, and he actually made the team and appeared in 13 games as a defensive back that year at 22 years old for the Chicago Bears. Well, in 1977, not only did he make the team, he was the starter for the Chicago Bears. He started 14 games, appearing in 14 games for the Bears in 1977. Well, for the next decade, Gary would become the safety defensive back for the Chicago Bears. Gary would become a Pro Bowler in 1981, where he would have his best season, appearing in 16 games that year, appearing in all 16 games that year for the Chicago Bears. And of course, in 1985, he was part of the famous 1985 Chicago Bears, where he would go on to win his Super Bowl ring. Gary would eventually wind up retiring in 1987, where he would appear in 164 games in his career, starting 140 of them. So overall, Gary appeared in a lot of games for the Chicago Bears. Not so bad for a guy that got let go by the great Miami Dolphins. But after his career, or actually during his career, Gary went back to college and got his degree from Northwestern University to build upon his Yale University degree that he got when he was younger in the 1970s. Well, after Gary retired as a player, he got into the world of finance and banking, and he had a long, strong career in the financial world after he played for the Chicago Bears for more than a decade almost. So I want to thank Mr. Fencik for signing. I also want to thank Mr. Hicks. Whoops, mixed them up there. I want to thank Mr. Hicks as well for signing my cards. I also want to thank Mr. Schubert for signing my 4 cards as well. I want to say that all 3 of these guys were teammates at one time or another on the Bears. You know, these guys would have all been playing together at the same time during the same era. I hope you enjoyed this video with some older football players from the 1970s. I look forward to your comments below this week, and as always, happy collecting.